Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not welcome to Saw Revisited, and we are on Jigsaw from 2017. Yes, coming out 7 years after Saw 3D, which was proclaimed to be the final chapter. But as I said in my last review, it technically is the final chapter. This sort of is a soft reboot in a way that tries to do something different, but it just gets confusing, right? I guess. Yeah. And I remember when they announced that any film was coming out, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. I want to know what happened to Hoffman afterwards. And then the trailer came out, and I went, this is not what I wanted. They're not doing a straight up sequel. They're changing things around. It will be called Jigsaw, and it's this, and it. And I like one part of the twist, even though we're gonna talk about how it makes a whole lot of sense once you really think about it. And then the other part is just, I don't know. But this one actually doesn't start with a saw trap. We start with Edgar, who is running from the cops, and Detective Halloran here, who is very confused as to what Edgar is doing, because Edgar is his informant, apparently. But Edgar's got a little switch thing, and he says the game's gonna happen. I don't believe him. The game is activated, but they shoot his hand anyway, and he also gets shot in the chest, even though Halloran told him not to shoot him in the chest. But yeah, we get the title card. So we meet our peoples who are in this trap. There's Anna, played by Laura Vandervert. Ryan, Mitch, blonde girl, and Buckethead guy, who we don't find out who he is till later, but yeah. And this is all reminiscent of the trap from 5, I think. So here Jigsaw comes on the screen on a flat screen TV with Billy with glowy eyes. Just remember that. And says, "I want to play a game. You're being pulled by your chains to the blade. But you must sacrifice blood. Any amount will do." So once they realize, oh, we just have to cut ourselves on these things and we'll be set free. So they do that. But Buckethead guy doesn't wake up in time. So he gets left behind and supposedly dies. But any amount of blood will do, right? So as soon as he hits the blades, he should be dropped out of there and be fine. Right? He should be freed from that. Right? I don't know. But that character is a part of the twist. We know, full spoilers, of course. We know that that's actually the corner guy, whose name I forgot. Matt Passimore's character, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, and I don't know why I always forget names, but I do. Hurry up. Oh my god, hurry up. Logan, right. We find out later that it's Logan and some other weird twist things. So the next test is they're going to be pulled up and probably hung. But this is for Carly, who is the blonde chick I called out earlier. So apparently she mugged a woman many years ago and took her purse. Inside the purse was asthma, the inhaler, and she didn't return it to her in time. Although she sees her collapse to the floor, to the ground, you could still give her it would still work. But now there are 3 needles. One, so she is poisoned. One, does it say here? One of the 3 needles. One is an antidote to the poison in her system. The other, a saline solution. And the last one, acid. Right? So, yeah. So she points out that one of the numbers on there is the amount of money she got. So that's a start. So you don't know if that indicates that it's the antidote or that it's the acid. So my thought watching this was squirt a little bit of each one on your foot or something, and if something starts to burn, that's the acid. Get rid of that one and inject the other 2 into her, which will give her the cure, right? I don't think saline. What does saline do? Saline solution. What does that do? It's mixture sodium chloride and water. It has several uses: measurements, cleaning wounds, removal, storage of contact lens, and injection into a vein. It is used to treat hypovolemia such as gastritis, diabetic, large amount resulting fluid overload. I don't think that whole syringe, the syringe that they used, would have done that bad damage. I don't think. So, yeah. But no, Ryan decides to inject her with all 3, which, of course, activates the acid. She's also cured. Yeah. Meanwhile, in the real world, we are seeing these victims show up and brought to Logan, who's investigating this, and they find proof or evidence that Jigsaw might still be alive. So the timeline for this movie makes no sense, as they say it's been 10 years. This came out in 2017. So, 10 years, but Jigsaw died in the 3rd one, which was 2006. So we're in 2016, right? But it's never ever stated how long between Saw 2 and 3, or how long between, because remember, John Kramer was a cancer patient. So, how long between 1, 2, and 3, what's the time between all that? Or, did that all take place within 2004, you would think? Which would make 1, 2, 3, and 4 all take place in 2004. Hold on a minute. Google. Let's look at this. Saw timeline. Okay. There's a complex due to its use of flashbacks and nonlinear storytelling. The core events first movie Saw take place in October 2004. Saw X is a prequel between the first 2 films. Saw 5 is set about a year after the first movie. So, if Saw 2 is set a year after the first movie, so how long does John Kramer have to live? Because, he had cancer, and he was coughing when Sing and Tap confronted him in his loft, right? So the main timeline concludes in 2007. So we are saying that, according to this, first film is in 2004, which would put Saw X somewhere in that area, early 2005, I think. If October of 2004 is where the first one is set, and somewhere early 2005. Saw 2 is in 2005. sure. That means he talks to Easton some point during that too to try to get the insurance. So that means, so then Saw 3 and 4 would be in 2006. 2007, a few weeks spanning from April to late May 2006. Okay, that's 2006, which would also put 5, 6, and final chapter all in 2007 because they take place right after each other. Jigsaw is 10 years after the event of the it says here after the events of the final chapter, but they keep saying that it's 10 years since he died. That would be 11 years then. Placing it in 20. Okay, you just said. Orale. Video breaks down. I don't want to watch no video. Timeline. Saw Wiki. Let's look at this one here. Okay, so Saw. Before Saw. I don't need to know all the stuff. John Kramer flying and then blah 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 blah. Yeep. David Tap. This is not Saw. Okay. This is just giving me a rundown of the events. Entire Saw universe timeline explained. This is a looper video. I'm not gonna. No, I don't want a video. This is Origins back to 1994. So 2004 Saw. That's in 2004. So they're saying... Wait. This one says it takes place in 2001. What? Wait, hold on. Go back up. I want to read this. The 2001 date of the first Saw movie is mainly established by the date on the cell phone reading 9/10/01. However, there are some fans that believe if John hadn't changed the date on the phone, the movie takes place during the... Well, yeah. And this also says that Saw X takes place before Saw. No. Because, like, what is it? What does it say that Saw... Huh? I was trying to read it and it... Go back. Okay, so it says here that 2001, this supposedly takes place before Saw, but it's not. Saw 2 takes place in 2002, but then here, late 2002 after Saw 2. Okay, no. I don't get that at all. That's right. I wanted to see what, because that would put Jigsaw in 2011, which makes no sense. No. Okay. So the timeline that we know of, I'm going by that one that was explained. The first film takes place 2004. I don't care about 2001. 2004. That leads me. And apparently, Saw 2 takes place a year later in 2005. Okay. Then, we have 3 and 4, 5, 6, and 7, which which all take place in 2006 to 2007-ish, right? Because 3 and 4 are released in 2006, and I'm assuming that 4, 5, and 6 they take place right after, or 5, 6, and 7 take place right after that. So 2007-ish. So this would take place in 2016 then. Does it say that at the beginning of the thing and I've just been stupid the whole time? It doesn't say that. But anyway, so they say he's been dead for 10 years. And then also, spoiler alert, when we find out that the game that they played was the very first game ever done before Gordon and Adam. Before that, the first game. Which has never made sense to me because Gordon and Adam's trap seems like a very good first trap to try. It's very simple, 2 people, that sort of thing. I know that Cecil was basically his test subject, but this is the first big one, that he does. Not, put him in the thing that falls apart and then he leaps into the razor wire. No, this is the first trap. This is a big elaborate thing that doesn't really make any sense. Also, Eleanor, the fellow mortician apparently, also is a Jigsaw fangirl and has all of his replicas of his traps in a warehouse somewhere. Which, of course, once Detective Hunt, played by Clay Bennett, finds this, she is, of course, suspect number 1. But, yeah. But, so here's something that's confusing. The mayor wants to exhume Jigsaw's body. So they go to dig it up, and when they do, it's Edgar. That means that there would be freshly dug dirt laying on top of that. Because you can't really disguise it as... Because I don't know how they would be able to disguise it as a grave that's been there since 2006. So, yeah, they would notice it before they started digging. But whatever. Where is Jigsaw's body? We don't know. So Eleanor contacts Logan and says, "Hey, I know where they are. It's this old farm where that Jill Tuck's family owns." How did she find out about this? Did she surf the web and go to the Jigsaw thingies? Right? The Jigsaw website, whatever it's called. And she figured it out there. Or did someone else contact her and tell her that's where it is? Reason is, there's a thing in the end here after she runs off. After Halloran shows up and holds Logan at gunpoint, and she runs off and then they get knocked out. Or, it's really Halloran who gets knocked out because it is Logan in the pig costume as we know. But she runs into someone in a van. Who is it? My theory is that it's Hoffman. Because I was trying to figure out how Hoffman... My theory is to try to bring Adam back to life. But the more I look at that body laying there, the more I see it is Adam's and not Taps like everybody keeps theorizing. So who's going to rescue Hoffman? Well, it's... it's Logan, of course. And I thought perhaps that would be the opening scene of Jigsaw 2 or Saw 9 or whatever they would call it. There was going to be their sequel to this. You start with the events of Saw 3D, Hoffman getting attacked, locked up in that room, and screaming, and then someone opens the door. It's Logan. It took you so long. Traffic. And then we cut back to Jigsaw, and we see I Speak for the Dead. And Eleanor runs into the car. You know, that he leaves and the van drives up. And it's Hoffman. Get in. And Eleanor is very confused about all this. That would be something. Right? It would make sense now. I thought that they were going to use Logan as a way to retcon stuff and give reason for who rescues Hoffman. But, no. And yes, that would mean Hoffman had been working with him since you probably rescued him, But, So, Halloran and him and Logan wake up. They're in these shackles with these laser things. And, by the way, Hunt finds evidence that Halloran is the one committing these murders. We also point out that these other victims, because we know that's not the victims that we were watching in this trap, they're all people connected to Halloran that he let off for favors. Much like Edgar, who was responsible for the murder of Logan's wife a couple years earlier. So, yeah, crooked cop. But let's go back to the game for a second here. So, because we're not done with this part yet. It's going to be a longer one, I guess. So after Carly dies, they're taking Mitch and Anna they go into this silo while Ryan gets his legs stuck in this other trap, and all he's got to do is press the button and he'll go free. And I guess he channels the eventuality of he has all of the brain cells of slow-ass motherfucking Jeff, because she just sits there. And I know his reasoning is that he knows it's going to take his leg off, but that's really no excuse when people are dying and he just, no. And eventually does it like, I don't know. And if you were able to be smart about it, you'd flip the switch just and lift your leg just in time, you might get it out of there. But I don't know. I'm no expert, I guess, but I don't know. So he's got one leg, and now it's Mitch's turn. See, so here's the thing. Jigsaw tells them to confess, so they start confessing earlier. And how ironic that these random confessions they're just throwing out of bad things that they've done just so happen to be the bad things that Jigsaw wants them to confess. As if they didn't do any other bad things but these things. Mitch sold a motorcycle that had brake problems to somebody. We don't know about Ryan's stuff yet. Carly's thing where she mugged someone. And his husband rolled over the baby. Now, if she's trying to cover it up, why would she even bring that up in the first place? Why would that be a confession from her when supposedly her husband did it? I don't know. It screams of there's something more here, right? As you find out later, she covered it up. She suffocated the baby and blamed it on her husband, and her husband went to a mental facility and then hung himself. Yeah, so she's not a good person at all. No. But Mitch's task is the trap that was mentioned by Ono earlier. A trap that was used in the very first test. Very first game, I guess I should say, 10 years earlier. It would be more than 10 years, but whatever. It would be 13 years, 12 years, whatever. So this is before the first one. Anyway. Excuse me. So, Mitch's task is to try to grab the release valve, but as it gets closer and closer, it starts to hit him, and even though Anna tries to stop the machine, it doesn't, and he gets ripped to shreds. And they find the body. So, we are supposed to believe that while we are seeing this test, this is from the past and present time, 3 other people are being put through these tests. But what's the point of putting them through tests? Why not just, and I'm not advocating for this, but murder them in the way they were supposed to? Because, one, you're going to figure out something. Because, like, we see that, we know it's Logan, but the Buckethead guy, he gets cut on the back. And when they find the body, part of his face is missing. If he's got a bucket on his head, how did it cut his face? That's something they thought popped in my mind. How? I think Logan wasn't putting them in traps, but just killing them, right? We know that one trap is still at the barn. All the traps are still there. So he had enough, and he's a mortician, so he knows, what the saline solution. All he had to do was inject her with the acid, same acid from what's his face in 6, by the way. Right now. And he probably just sawed off some dude's face and said that's good enough. Right? I don't know. I point this out because when he reveals the truth, that Edgar was the one who killed his wife, and all this was to get revenge on Halloran, and then he murders Halloran. But we see in flashbacks that he was an apprentice of John's, and thinks that he's keeping John's ways going. But I've said this so many times in this review series, killing is distasteful. He's murdered these people. This was not trying to test people to test them. This was murder to get revenge on someone. He's not better than Hoffman is at doing this. He's, although it was weird that Hoffman was still continuing to do those games after John had died, and even though we've shown that he does the traps so that no one can get out, there was ways for some people to get out. There were survivors. And 5, there were survivors. 6, there were survivors. And 7, Bobby Dagan survived. So, yeah. Easton was the guy from 6. I remember him. So, yeah, I don't know. This was just a murder revenge tour. And he doesn't even use the right line, which I think was purposely done because this is not a sequel. This is something else. He says, "I speak for the dead," and then closes the door. Yeah. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen where this was going to go, but I don't know. I would have loved for it to connect to Saw 3D and bring Hoffman back and show that he survived, because it was Logan that saved him, so I remember when I first watched it, I kept thinking, it's Hoffman. It's got to be Hoffman. It's Hoffman. He escaped, and then there's nothing. It's just this blonde dude. I'll get in the middle of the road. It's fine. It's not terrible. It's just fine. So what are your thoughts on Jigsaw? Leave them so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.